Okay, so now we are coming in to do some colouring in with some shades of pinks and reds. So I've laid out my colours on the mat. I've got a silver lined fuchsia, a matte red AB, a red luster, and a transparent dark red. And what I want to do is have pinker colours in the centre here, fanning out gradually to these darker red around the outside. And what you can also do with something like this is you can colour in the backing a little bit to give you a bit of a guide, both in the direction that you want the beads to be and also to stop the backing coming through. So I've got a Sharpie here. This is a like a magenta-y pink one. And I know that I want to have magenta-y pink up against the lock here. I'm just bending the foundation a bit because I don't want to get marker onto the beads themselves, but I just want to give myself a little bit of an indication of how far I want that pink to go. Just a bit of a rough guide. I have drawn on the beads there slightly. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Sorry if that freaks you out. And I'm just... Okay, so you can see there where I've just done a little bit of Sharpie in there just to give an indication of where the colour is. And then I want to blend out into the other colours up to this point before it turns into the black and white sections. So start by bringing your needle up somewhere along here on the edge. Start just here. I'm going to pick up two of the little fuchsia, and this is like whatever you think should be the right amount of beads is going to be the right amount of beads. But I've picked up two of each color there, and you can see on the needle that's quite a nice little blend from shiny to matte to shiny to matte, but it's a nice little rainbow of color. And I'm laying that out straight here because I want, from that padlock, I want the colors to come out, you know, straight here, then out at these angles, as if I was a clock, the times on the clock. And that's the angle that I want my stripes of beads to go. Draw yourself some little lines like that, if it helps you to see the angles that you want your beads to be at. Now I've got 8 beads on there. I'm just laying them in that gap there to see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to come back and couch over them. Do a 4 bead back stitch if you prefer. Do a 2 bead back stitch, or a back stitch where you pick up 2 and go through 3. Do whatever works for you. Okay, so you can see that first line of beads that I've added there. Now I'm going to come back and add some more. Left a little gap there. I'm sort of giving myself the lines of the angles of the beads first. Now this is a smaller gap in this spot. So I'm just going to try 4 beads in there. And I haven't picked up one of the darker reds. I've picked up 1 fuchsia. Oh, it's a bit out of focus there for you. 1 fuchsia, 1 red matte AB, 2 of the opaque red luster. And then just couch back over the top of that one to hold that into place. So then that kind of gives me an idea of the shape that I'm filling in here as well. So sometimes I pick up 2 fuchsia. Sometimes I pick up 1. I sort of want it to be not too perfect in what I pick up. I want it to be a really random selection of beads. This tends to blend a bit better that way. Oops, got a little knot going to form there. I went through the thread by accident. Okay, so can you see how that's starting to look? And you can come in this way and bead back towards the center as well. Because of the space that's left there, I didn't need to pick up a fuchsia that time. Again, I'm using my thumb to hold the beads in position, and I pull the thread quite tight when I'm pulling them up to guide them into position. Now I'm going to put some beads in this little spot here. Use your needle to sort of see. I think what I need is 3 in that gap. Sometimes you can't see it until you bring them right down. Now, can you see that little gap that I've got there? Several things you can do here. You can add a dot of red texture, which I'll show you so you can see what it looks like. If you've got a little spot like that, you think it's not quite big enough for a bead on the same direction that the others are, but you could squeeze a bead in on its side. That would be okay. You can fold this back a bit to reveal a bit more of the foundation and color it in red. See how the gap disappears a bit more? What I'm actually going to do is probably put a red AB bead but on its side. But I think the texture does really make that difference by taking away that white. The white foundation is very stark up against the red color. Just having a look for a bead that's not too wide or anything. You see that in there now? It's on an angle. I don't mind it. I don't mind that it's on a slight angle there. I also have a bead here that's sitting on a bit of a jaunty angle. I'm just couching over it, and that's going to pull that thread into position a bit better. And then I've got this little gap here, which I'm going to put some of these darker red beads into. See that there? Looking good. I'm happy with that. Coming in, I'm going to add one more little opaque there in that little gap. Yeah, just slot into that gap. And you can see we're starting to get that bit of a blend from the pink to the bright red to the darker red. I keep bringing the needle not in my ideal spot. Okay, so just to show you that you can use a 4 bead back stitch, I'm going to here. It's actually night time here in Australia, and it's getting a bit trickier to see those little beads now. So see if I picked up a red AB here, see I'd start to be making a real solid line of where that change is. I actually want to do one more of these brighter ones because I want to vary where that line is and make it really uneven. I've just picked up a series of beads here. See how now it's got a bit of a step between this bead and this bead. It'll blend nicer from a distance with the coloring if we keep doing that. Now we need to start heading from this sort of angle. So I'm coming up here near the swirl and I'm going to force the beads to sort of start following that angle. You can see a bit of white here peeking through. Again, the texture or some more beads coming in there will fix that. All right, so I think it's going to be either 3 or 4 beads. I think 3 is going to be enough. And you can see how those silver lined fuchsia are giving a real nice little glint there in the middle. So we just keep colouring in the same way. 4 bead backstitch, bit of couching, adding a few more, changing your mind, mixing it up. That's what it's all about. I love that bead embroidery gives you the freedom to choose. The thing you can do to create nice blends is, see how I've picked up a darker red here. I'm going to go back to that opaque red luster and then some more of the darker red. Just trying to keep on that line, but I don't want to alter that swirl there too much. Going to couch that one into position. And then we're just really colouring in with the beads. So you can see that the nature of cramming these beads in really tightly and using such a tight tension, can you see that that beadwork is starting to curve and really deform this piece of stiff stuff? Well, we are going to use that to our advantage because this is not a flat piece of beadwork. This is quite rounded, and we're doing that we want to conceal in the padding of this lock heart, we want to conceal the bar of the D-ring. So you really want that to start to curve and deform. You really want to embrace that. So I'm cramming those beads in, and they're pretty rock solid in there. There's very little gap of that white stiff stuff showing. And we're getting quite a nice blend from the pink. You know, the color is sort of coming out like this, just like I did on this one here. And it's starting to curve just like I want it to as well. So if it's starting to curve like this, don't freak out. Just let it do the work for you.